Matthew Knox, and I will be doing an excerpt from the Pickwick Papers, Chapter 42. Mr. Pickwick has an extraordinary and startling announcement for Mr. Samuel Weller. Well, will you know me again? Said Mr. Smangle with a frown. I'd swear to you, unverse, sir, replied Sam cheerfully. Don't be impertinent to a gentleman, sir, said Mr. Smangle. Not on no account, replied Sam. If you'll tell me when he wakes, I'll be upon the very best extra super behavior. This observation, having a remote tendency to imply that Mr. Smangle has no gentleman, kindled his ire. Mivens, said Mr. Smangle, with a passionate air. What's the opposite? Replied the gentleman from the couch. Who the devil is this fellow? Gad, said Mr. Mivens, looking lazily out from under the bedclothes. I ought to ask you that. Hasn't he any business here? No, replied Mr. Smangle. Then knock him downstairs, and I'll tell him not to presume to get up till I come and kick him, rejoined Mr. Mivens. With this prompt advice, that excellent gentleman again betook himself to slumber. The conversation exhibiting these unequivocal symptoms of verging on this personal, Mr. Pickwick deemed it a fit point at which to interpose. Sam, said Mr. Pickwick. Sir, rejoined the gentleman, has anything new occurred since last night? Nothing particular, sir, Sam replied, glancing at Mr. Smangle's whiskers. The late prevalence of a close and confined atmosphere has been rather favorable to the growth of weeds of an alarming and sanguinary nature. But with that air exception, things is quite enough. I shall get up, said Mr. Pickwick. Give me some clean things. Whatever hostile intentions Mr. Smangle might have entertained, his thoughts were speedily diverted by the unpacking of the portmanteau, the countenance of which appeared to impress him at once with a most favorable opinion, not only of Mr. Pickwick, but of Sam also, who he took an early opportunity of declaring in a tone, a voice loud enough for the eccentric personage to overhear, was a regular thoroughbred original, and consequently the very man after his own heart. As to Mr. Pickwick, the affection he conceived for him knew no limits. Now there is anything I can do for you, my dear sir, said Smangle. Nothing that I am aware of. I am obliged to you, replied Mr. Pickwick. No linen that you want to send to any washerwoman's? I know a delightful washerwoman outside that comes for my things twice a week, and by Jove, how devilish lucky. This is the day she calls. Shall I put any of those things up with mine? Don't say anything about the trouble. Confine and curse it. If one gentleman under a cloud is not to put himself a little out of the way to assist another gentleman in the same condition, what's human nature? Thus spake Mr. Smangle, edging himself meanwhile as near as possible to the portmanteau, and beaming forth looks of the most fervent and disearnest friendship. There's nothing you want to give out for the man to brush, my dear creature, is there? Resumed Smangle. Nothing whatever, my fine fellow, rejoined Sam, taking the reply into his own mouth. Perhaps if one us was to brush, without troubling the man, it would be more agreeable for all parties. As the schoolmaster said, when the young gentleman objected to being flogged by the butler. And there's nothing I can send in my little box to the washerwoman, is there? Said Smangle, turning from Sam to Mr. Pickwick with an air of some discomfiture. Nothing whatever, sir, reported Sam. I am afeard the little box must be choked full your own as it is. This speech was accompanied with such a very expressive look at that particular portion of Mr. Smangle's attire, by the appearance of which the school of laundressness and getting up gentlemen's linen is generally tested.